Why is IXL used in 95 of the top 100 U.S. school districts? Because it works. IXL is research proven to benefit all student populations, including English language learners and special education classrooms. IXL is an all inclusive online learning and teaching solution for K 12 that accelerates achievement, saves teachers time, and more. This one platform helps you accomplish what normally would require dozens of other tools. For example, as students practice skills, IXL automatically differentiates learning to help them master concepts at their own pace. Teachers get real time insights into how students are performing so they can provide timely support. What I love about IXL are the personalized SAT and ACT study plans. Students just need to enter the most recent test score, and IXL automatically generates a custom list of skills they should work on to improve their scores. Discover what IXL can do for your school. Visit IXL.com/PM today.
You're listening to Monday Matters, a Principal Matters podcast production.
Hi, friends. This is Will Parker back with my co-host, Dr. Jen Schwanke, for another Monday Matters. Jen, this recording is going to be coming out August 10, which means some of our friends are already back in school across the U.S. Some are gearing up to bring back teachers. Some are waiting until September. We have listeners from across the globe, so I don't want to assume where people are this part of the summer, but I was thinking about a question I wanted to ask you before we dive into today's topic, which is going to be about one of your newsletters called Big Decision. Well, first, what kind of day is it? But before we do that, we haven't had a puppy update in a long time, Jen. So you have to give us an update on your new dog.
Well, I just put him outside. He sometimes forgets his manners. No, he's doing great. He's just past the 6-month mark, and he's so different than my beloved dog that passed away. So it's actually been easier because they're very different creatures. But listeners know I'm a big runner, and I like to run with my dog. And the new puppy Sam is inherently quite lazy. He doesn't see any need to go run around in circles. So we're working on coaxing him to do that. But we call him Lazy Bones. I mean, he's lazy. Until he's not. He has a witching hour every night. He's a lot like a toddler. If any of our listeners have toddlers, they know what I mean by witching hour.
Well, nobody cares about all these details, but I'm just catching up with you. But I have taken mostly over the summer, taken a break from running and really been mostly biking. Yeah. And still going to the gym when I can. So my dog Ivy is actually putting on weight because running is kind of our thing, but it's just been so hot here. Yes. And so even the mornings are still humid in Oklahoma. Speaking of Oklahoma, yesterday I had the opportunity to travel to Wilson Public Schools, which is in the southern part of our state, near, if anybody's from Oklahoma, near Ardmore in the Arbuckle Lake area. And it's just a beautiful part of the state, Jen, but it's also a very rural part of the state. And I was just listening to your interview with Will Darter and just thinking, man, our rural leaders, what a appropriate time to listen to Will. So if listeners, if you did not listen to last week's conversation with Will Darter, who leads a rural school in the Midwest in the Missouri area, you've got to listen into that. But Jen, a few weeks ago, you wrote a post called Big Decision. Well, first, what kind of day is it? And I just so appreciate this post. I have some thoughts I want to add, but will you just kind of set the stage for why it's important for leaders to think about the kind of day they're having before they make big decisions?
Right. I think it was important to me that I write this post in the summer because I know a lot of people go on vacation and they maybe stay in a cute little Airbnb and they wake up in the morning and have time to drink their coffee. And then they start thinking, maybe I should buy an Airbnb and I should be able to go and drink coffee slowly in the mornings or whatever it is. And those are the good days. Those are the wonderful days. And it was actually rooted in a story watching my nephew who got to come home. And when I say home, I mean where I grew up. My sister brought her kids to my parents' place and, living on a farm in the summer in the beautiful Midwest is to say that you spend time, running wild and playing in the fields. There was a litter of barn kittens. He got to mountain bike with his buddies nonstop, and there was no teeth brushing probably. There was probably no hair brushing. There were no showers, I don't think. He was so incredibly happy. And everybody was, because it was vacation and it was free and there were no schedules. And so he put on the full court press to convince my sister to stay longer before going back home. I mean, he really, really wanted to stay. And when he asked, I saw my sister pause and think. And then ultimately she said, no, we have to go home. School's getting started. Your dad's there. We got to get back to our routine. And I asked her about it later. I said, listen, I saw that hesitation. Tell me what you were thinking. And she said, it was a perfect day. It was a wonderful day. But I had to recognize that I can't make a big decision like that on such a wonderful day. Similarly, you don't want to make big decisions on really lousy days.
Yep.
And frankly, Will, I know you have too. I have some friends who have, quit jobs on bad days and made huge life decisions because they think I can't do this anymore. So we shouldn't make decisions when we're feeling either really, really wonderful or really, really bad.
Well, and decision making is probably one of the hardest parts of leadership because you want to do it right. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure that you're accurate, that you're even-handed, that you're fair-minded, all those words. I remember, Jen, as a teacher when I was working on my administrative certs and going to my master's classes and thinking about that leave, I would watch my principals and I would think and judge every one of them, like, oh, that was a good decision. Oh, that was not a good decision. And you can, you're doing all that armchair quarterbacking. And I remember one evening I ran into an old professor who had been a retired teacher and a retired administrator. And I just stopped him in the hall and said, I'm just really curious. How do you know when you're making the right decisions? Because it seems like principals have to make so many. And I've told this story before, Jen, but he smiled at me and he said in his wisdom, oh, Will, I probably only made the right decision about 25% of the time. The rest of the time I just had to learn to live with my mistakes. And I remember when he walked away, I was kind of terrified that those averages, and I know he was exaggerating, but what he was trying to just hold up to me was this: if you think that the goal is perfection in your decision making, you're going to be sorely disappointed. And of course, experience has taught me and you that we don't always make the best decisions. But what I love about this post is it's a reminder to pause. Like sometimes you need to pause because in the heat of the moment or in the exhilaration of the moment, you may not be as focused as you think you need to be. Jen, what do you tell the leader, though, that's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Just like wait on every decision because every day is so stressful or every day is so like heightened. So what would you say to that leader?
Well, I think most days are not the best day or the worst day. I think most days are medium days. And we are in a really good position mentally to make decisions most days. I think what really we're talking about here is impulsivity and not being impulsive to say, you know what, here's the right decision because I'm feeling it so deeply in this moment. I think if we're feeling anything really, really deeply, whether it's anxiety or anger or fear or honestly joy, and those things when we're feeling deeply, I think by the nature of the adrenaline running through us, we're probably not in our best cognitive space. And so my advice would be not say, is this a medium day or a good day or a bad day, but more say, how is my mind right now? Am I being impulsive? What are the implications of this decision? And you and I have talked about that quite a lot. We've talked about, pausing. We've talked about reflecting on whether this will matter, this decision, and how it will impact people in 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 months, 10 years. And, that's all the same conversation. It's about being thoughtful and about knowing where your own head is before you make decisions that will have an impact on so many people.
Let me give a couple of examples, Jen. As you're describing those kinds of thoughts, I thought about two things. One, professional development, and then student disciplines. I'm just going to take them each one at a time, because I've been in those settings where over the summer you go to professional development, you go to a national conference, you go to some really great training, and you you're at a high. You're getting all your meals served to you. There's like the pace of school has slowed down. You're in a beautiful place. This PD is just so incredible. And you if you're with a team, you pull them together and you're like, we're going to go back. We're going to do all of these things. And there's that little moment like you said, in the honeymoon of that vacation where you might want to pause and ask, how does what we're thinking about doing line up with the goals we've already set? And with the room that we already have in our calendar, and if we're going to say yes to something, what are we going to say no to? Take a pause, and it doesn't mean you don't implement good practice when you see it, but it just means that you take a pause before you jump in. Because when you're a leader, sometimes you have the freedom to wreck a room. I'm just going to say that in ways other people don't, and sometimes people are a little hesitant to hold you back from wrecking the room. And so that's one example. Jen, thoughts on that before I give a second one?
No, I think that what you're talking about there is so critical. It's the importance of the power you have, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to quickly make a decision and not realize what it does to the room. And, people are always very tuned in to the boss and what the principal's going to do. And I think just knowing that and knowing that there's a room to be wrecked does not mean that you should wreck it.
I'm going to give an example without naming names, but this story came to me recently from a friend, and I just want to use it because I want to warn leaders, because this is a real life example. There's John Gordon is a great national speaker, author, and he has this lesson that he teaches called Avoiding the Energy Vampire, where he talks about people that suck the energy out of the room. And he tells this story about a coach who once had a picture of a vampire on the practice wall, and he would write names of kids up there on days that they were just sucking the life out of the team to kind of correct them. And I've heard him say, don't do that. But that's just an example of somebody that was trying to remind his team, don't be the energy sucker. Well, I had someone tell me recently that they had a friend who had attended his conference and didn't hear the second part, just the first, and came back and started putting little vampires in people's mailboxes, on their desks, as ways to correct them when they felt like they were in. And Jen, yeah, you and I both. I was just holding my hand over my mouth. I was like, no. And he said, you talk about culture killer. It was such a culture killer. And so I'm just saying that to leaders. Stop and think when you're listening to a conference, when you're thinking about a best practice, and just before you take that peak moment and go, I'm going to do this, just think clearly about that. That's a really radical example.
Well, let me jump on that one. I had a principal friend, and she would openly discuss this, but she got so frustrated with all the teachers telling her how stressed they are that she banned the word stress.
No.
She said, we are not talking about stress. We are not using that word anymore in this school. Well, that's not a way to build morale.
Yeah, like don't think about a big elephant. You're going to immediately, that's what you're going to think about. Well, let's talk about student discipline, because sometimes when you're in the heat of a moment or teacher correction, sometimes that heat is not the time to make the final decision. That's a really good time to just put the brakes on and go, you know what? We both might need a break here before we make a decision on what we're going to do next.
Right.
Might be a good time to let's set up a meeting. Let's go home and come back tomorrow and think about this. Jen, I've mentioned this before, but this has been really helpful for me. It was researched by Daniel Pink in a book he wrote When, W-H-E-N, The Science of Timing. And he researched occupations where certain times of the day people made worse decisions than others. And he focused specifically on medical practice and judges, probation judges. And he found that as the day went along, especially the hump of the day, like right after lunch, that doctors more often got in trouble for malpractice.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because they were making bad decisions in surgery. They made more mistakes that time of day. And judges were handing out harsher penalties that time of the day than they did, say, in the early mornings. And the research was really compelling, because the only factor that he could see that was consistent across those practices was that time of the day. And I was like, when I was reading that, I was like going kind of like a nightmare, going back in all the times I had made really bad decisions that time of the day. And his caution was just also think about what time of the day it is, because there are certain times of the day when student discipline goes up, when people get tired, when people get stressed. Man, that's just a good time to take a breath. It's a good time to go take a walk. It's a good time to just not overreact, but respond. So, man, Jen, any other thoughts you want to add to that before we wrap up?
Well, this is just a funny story. I worked with a principal years ago, and then he went on to be a superintendent. And his theory was that the entire education system is falling apart because teachers wear jeans on Friday. And so he did research, and I'm using research very lightly here.
Yeah.
He said jeans are bad because discipline goes up on Fridays. And we all laughed because we were like, well, it could also be because it's Friday. But that was just a funny thing we laughed about
the correlations.
But it actually does prove your point, which is the end of the week when kids are tired and they're not their best selves, they might make some decisions about their behavior that aren't necessarily the best decisions, and it doesn't mean it's because the teachers are wearing jeans.
Well, you say in the post, I'm just going to quote you, fortunately, most days are medium days.
Yes.
By definition, we only get a few absolute best or worst days, which leaves the rest of the calendar as fair game for steady, thoughtful progress. So
Right.
just an encouragement to Principal Matters listeners as you're stepping into this new school year. You've got your goals set. You know where you want to head. You are you're a leader who has the target in front of you, but when you have those really high moments, enjoy them and celebrate them. Don't let them define all the outcomes you think you're going to experience. And when you have those really low moments, oh my gosh, just hold on. Don't let those define everything you think you're going to be experiencing as you move forward. Because Jen, you've used this word before, but equanimity is one of your favorite words. Why is that a word you try to hold on to for leadership?
I love that word. Well, I don't love the word so much as the concept. It's just this status of being calm, being accepting, being open, and being willing to engage the world in a way that's not impulsive. So the best synonyms probably calm and peace. And that's what I try to. I don't always achieve it. Trust me, I'm not walking around the world completely at peace all the time, but that's what I try to do.
Well, if you are wrapping up your summer, I hope you're having some of those blissful vacation days like Jen's nephew. And if you are stepping right back in, you're already right back into the middle of it, then, oh my gosh, hold on. This is going to be what a ride for this year. But Jen, as people are stepping into this year, I want them to stay connected with you and our resources. So how can our listeners find you, and how can they also be reading your wonderful newsletter?
Absolutely. They can find me at jenschwanke.com. And when they go there, there's a button to subscribe to the Principal Problems newsletter. It's a lot of fun to write and just a weekly tip every Tuesday.
You need to check it out. And you can find today's post, all of our conversations, all of our past posts at principalmatterspodcast.com or at my website at williamdparker.com. And until next time, thanks for doing what matters, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Principal Matters, the School Leaders Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, would you take a moment and like, share, subscribe, or leave us a review? In fact, if you share it out with a friend, even more people can become a part of these conversations. Sign up for our newsletter at williamdparker.com for even more free resources. And don't forget to check out our website to learn more about our books, professional development offerings, Grow Academies, masterminds, executive coaching, and keynote presentations. Wow, let's keep learning together. And thank you for doing what matters.
Monday Matters.